Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today we have another genetic counseling student interview. So this is with a second year student, Janice Davis-Ketchmore, who attends the University of North Carolina Greensboro program. She's got a lot of great advice, especially if you are someone right now who's applying to GC programs for this coming cycle. She's gonna have some good advice for you on just what it's like to be a student and some tips for your application as well. So hope you enjoy this one.
All right, so Janice, would you mind just starting off with a brief introduction of yourself?
Yeah, so hello, my name is Janice Davis-Ketchmore. I am a second year genetic counseling student at the University of North Carolina, Greensboro. Um, Trying to think of some fun facts about me. Aside from being a genetic counseling student, I really into like exercising, just being active, listening to music, dancing, hanging out with my friends. So yeah. That's a little bit
That's
about
awesome.
me.
Yeah, great, thank you. And so I guess the first question I would have for you is, being a current student, what are some things you did in your undergrad education in terms of coursework or extracurriculars that you think really set you apart to be a competitive applicant for a genetic counseling program?
I think as far as being competitive, I really had to take a step outside of the box. I feel like I think a lot of people, if you make it to or want to pursue a genetic counseling program because there are so many prerequisites, a lot of us on paper can really kind of seem the same after a while. So I really just try to hone into my psychology background in undergrad. So I was a psychology major, and so I feel like my exposure to a lot of crisis experiences was something that I hope would help me stand out during the application portion. I also tried to put things that just spoke a little bit to my personality as well, to make me see more of like a person rather than just someone on paper. And at the time, I was a Zumba instructor, and so I felt like that was a little fun thing to just share about myself, but also helpful for like being able to educate other people as well, that I put on my application.
That's a great idea. I never thought about that being something for genetic counseling, but I totally see how, it's a form of instruction, which is really important. And also anything that sets you apart like that, that's unique and you're passionate about, I'm sure comes through really well on your application.
Yeah,
That's a
I
great
agree.
point.
Yeah, I definitely agree. I feel like I said, we all take the same prereqs. A lot of us have similar interests. So anything that you can think of that just makes you unique as a person that you can bring that maybe someone else may not be able to bring, I think is important to highlight that.
Yeah, that's excellent advice. And I'm wondering now, you're a second year student. So I know a lot of times at a program, the first and second year are pretty different and you might be doing some different things, but would you be able to go over what a typical day looks like as a student? And maybe I guess that might entail comparing a first year to second year experience.
Yeah, no worries. And you're absolutely right. My first year compared to now was very much completely different. So starting off, first year, we had several days a week where we had classes. Um, just depending on the day, would really depend on how long we were in class. We did have a lot of other professionals and healthcare workers who were able to come into our classes and provide the lectures. So it wasn't always our immediate faculty and professors, so we were able to gain exposure in that way. Um, towards the towards my second semester and first year, we had more observation experiences, and so during those weeks, some days we'd be in class, other days we would be observing with the genetic counselors. Um, but honestly, I know I'm really going a little bit all over the place, and that's just to say for me, my first year, every week was a little bit different, every day was a little bit different, and so I know it does depend on the program, but I would just expect to have a little bit of classes, maybe some observations and things like that in the first year. But now being a second year student, most of my time is really spent on my rotation sites. And so every few months we change rotation sites just so we're able to see each different specialty. But it can range from about a full day, so about 8 to 4, 8 to 5, depending on what the schedule is for the clinic. I'm in rotation, and then one day a week I have classes all day as well. So it does look very different. More classroom things on the first year. I would say now being a second year is a lot more hands-on, and I'm actually working with patients. So that's really, really exciting.
That's great. Do you think, obviously you've only been to one, you can only go to one program, so you can't compare them too much, but I know some places throw you in a little earlier to your rotations. So do you think that having a lot of your coursework set you up to feel pretty confident once you were going to your rotations instead of maybe doing your rotations in the very first semester?
Agree. Having the opportunity to, like you said, having all the classwork on the front end, so not necessarily being thrown in there and just having a little bit of information. Of course, in your actual rotation, I feel like you will still continue to learn on top of everything that you learned in the classroom. But I do agree. I feel like we really were able to take the baby steps. So it's like first year, let's observe, let's really see what it is we're going to be doing. And luckily, even with our rotations, they kind of walk you through the steps as well. So they allow you to observe maybe a few days as well, and then go step by step depending on what you're comfortable with. Until in the end, you should be completing full sessions with the patients. But I think that's really nice to gradually work your way into that. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's really daunting the first times you have to do a full session with a patient or even be in that setting at all and taking more and more responsibility for the session. So that gradual increase seems like a pretty good way to do it.
Yeah, it was very helpful for me at least. I know everyone's different, but for me, taking it step by step was beneficial, I think.
That's great. And so I'm curious, what led you to choose UNC for your program? Like what factors do you think kind of pushed you in that direction?
So really what led me to UNCG was first of all, I'm from North Carolina, and so I think I just wanted to stay as close to home as possible. I was open to traveling if I needed to, but having the option of being somewhere just a few hours away from home for me was really comforting. So that was definitely on the top of my list. From there, when I went to visit the campus, I just really fell in love with the atmosphere. The campus is really up to date compared to other campuses that I've been to. I feel like they really try to make the environment nice for students. And I don't know, that was really the biggest thing, honestly, because you can't, at that point, I haven't taken any classes. So I don't know what it feels like to be in the classroom yet on this campus. And I only can look at the environment. But I just feel like the environment was so welcome. People on the actual campus were helpful as far as helping me find directions, speaking to one another. And I know I'm speaking at a time before COVID where a lot of the application, the processes were in person. So I know everyone may not have the opportunity to visit campuses, and I'm kind of sad about that because I know that really helped me in my process as well.
Yeah, I know for undergrad applications, they always say you get a good feel of it when you go on the campus, and I guess the tours and the perspective experience is a little bit different, but I really hope that things start to get a little better and we can have on-campus events and program tours and interviews, because I think that'd be a really big component to deciding where you want to go. But it looks like it's in that direction.
Yeah, hopefully it will get into that direction a lot. I guess I would just encourage people to maybe reach out to the current students if possible, or even the faculty members and directors. I know that I did that for UNCG and they were very open to speaking with me as well. And so knowing that they were welcoming to prospective students was also something else that made me say, like, I know they're going to take care of me once I get there, which they do. So
Yeah, it's a really great sign that they're so welcoming to you. That's great to hear. And now, what would you say, if you could pinpoint, is your favorite part of being a genetic counseling student, being in this like unique program?
I think my favorite part has to be the hands-on component. And so from undergrad, you're learning all of this stuff, and it is very towards your like senior year. I feel like you do learn things that are more pertinent to your major, but it was never this hands-on. So being able to be in the classroom and learn all these things that I can use with patients, but actually being able to work with patients is something that I've never experienced before, obviously not in undergrad. And so for me, that just helps. It helps with the learning process, but it also gives you a goal to look forward to, I feel like, because this is what you're going to be doing in a few months at this point. So for me, that really does give me some motivation to want to do my best.
Yeah, that's really exciting. I know something I think about is how I feel like the hands-on aspect would be really exciting to be working with such relevant things, and not only your classes, but then being in real rotations, because I agree. I think the same thing with a comparison I often think of is like the nursing programs at a lot of undergrads. They're doing clinicals and they're learning very specific things, whereas I'm taking, for a molecular bio degree, I'm taking like gen eds and other random classes that are still working me towards my knowledge of this degree, but the hands-on seems like a really exciting component.
Yeah, and I think exactly how you said, nursing is a good way to compare it to for undergrad, but it also, because you know that I'm making this agenda, this outline for an actual patient, it makes you want to work 10 times harder versus this is just an assignment, figure it out for an assignment or for a grade versus this is a real person in someone's life. So I want to, do the best that I can when I'm actually in clinic. So yeah, it's really exciting. And I think like a lot of people look forward to that once they get into programs.
Yeah, absolutely. I can see how it would carry a lot more weight to be doing something for a real person instead of just a grade,
Mhm.
And I'm sure there might be a couple of things, but what is one of the most challenging parts of being a genetic counseling student, would you say?
I think just for my explanation of what a typical day looks like and the fact that I couldn't even eloquently explain that, I think it's just the fact of balancing everything. For me personally, it's a lot and it's very much all useful and you see the need for everything that you're doing. Um, but just figuring out a way, especially during the first year, well, how do I balance classes with all of this extra activities that are needed for the program? And now as a second year, I'm thinking, how do I balance my rotation schedule with still having a little bit of classes sprinkled in there? So just finding a good balance and what works for you as far as making sure that everything gets completed.
I'm sure it's a big transition from undergrad to the program, and then even from between the program and different years as your schedule is shifting so much. But it seems like you've got a good handle on on the adjustment at this point.
I feel like I do. You definitely learn. The first year is a lot of trial and error and trying to figure out what things work for you. You may have to change some of your like study skills a little bit from undergrad or things like that. But it is a learning curve and it is an adjustment, but it is also very doable as well. So that's challenging, but also, something that you can grow from at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. You actually just reminded me. I'm curious with your cohort how that dynamic works with in terms of doing work and learning to adjust to different things, and just how you guys interact and function as like one class since they are so small and specific with genetic counseling. Could you explain a little bit about how that works for you?
I think it's really nice to have smaller classrooms because we do have so much time to discuss with one another if there are things that maybe we're struggling with, but someone else has a good understanding of it versus if we have a good understanding and we could, maybe help them. So having a smaller class, I think we do not only get just one-on-one time with our faculty members, but it also allows us to just make stronger connections as a cohort. And I think it is also a part of like the effort that you put in with your classmates. With anything of building some type of friendship, you do have to actually try and to work towards that. And so I'm very grateful that we all put in a really good effort to really support one another as classmates, just as people in general. But I don't think personally having a smaller class, I think is beneficial when you're trying to learn something that is so time consuming.
That's great. I definitely see how, I think it's exciting that it's such a small group and you're working on this very specific and unique career together and kind of growing and forming good relationships, especially that you can build off of one another, like you mentioned, with difference of understanding. I know that's a benefit of just having like a study group in some class, but that's taking it to the next level where you guys are going through the whole program together. Sounds very exciting.
Yeah, these are the only people, my director always says, these are the only people who understand literally everything, just about everything that you're going through right now. So really lean on them as a form of support. And I think that's an excellent point. And yeah, for all people who are, wanting to get into genetic counseling, I think that your cohort really becomes your family, and really they do help you throughout the entire process. So.
That's definitely really reassuring to hear, especially with how I'm sure how hectic and challenging it can be at times.
Mm-hmm.
And so the last main question I have for you is, what is one piece of advice you would give to a current student or a current applicant for a genetic counseling program, whether that's something that you think worked really well for you or maybe something that you wish you knew when you were applying to programs?
Something that I always like to tell people, and this is just based on my own experience, is it's okay if you have to apply multiple times. So I'm extremely transparent in that I applied my first year after graduating undergrad, and I did not get into a program. And it was pretty devastating for me for a short amount of time. And you just have to, work through that and figure out what can I do in this time when I'm not going back to school as I plan, and what can I actually do to try to make my application a little bit stronger. And so during that time, I did an internship as a GA. And so that really, really helped me. And so I feel like I said, just don't allow yourself to get too discouraged if you do have to apply more than one time. It happens to a lot of people. And just try during that time to make yourself a better applicant in whatever ways that you can. If you do feel comfortable, maybe even reaching out to the schools and figuring out, well, what was it about my application that I could make stronger? I'm very aware that that can be a little nerve-wracking, so may not always be as easy as I'm making it seem, but just any way that you can still pursue something that you want as far as genetic counseling, but just make your application stronger in that time.
That's definitely great advice. I appreciate your transparency too. I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I think like half of the applicants every year don't match. Is that true to your knowledge?
It's about that number.
Yeah.
And it's very, it's not uncommon. So there's been several people that I talked to who've had to apply multiple times. But like you said, there's a lot of people who get in right after undergrad. So everyone's experience is different. But I just know I wouldn't want anyone to feel bad who didn't match on their first try, just because it is a very normal thing, and you can work through it. So that's my little piece of advice.
Yeah, I think that's really great, and definitely, reassuring to know if something doesn't go the way someone wants, or just to keep in mind during the whole application process. But yeah, that's great advice. I appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, well, I think that is just about all I have for you today, but I really appreciate you taking your time. Sorry it took so long to set this up finally, but it was really great to talk to you. I definitely got a lot of good info.
Yeah, it was nice meeting you. Good to talk to you. And just for anyone who is watching this video, I am open to communication. If there are other questions that you have, about genetic counseling, being a genetic counseling student in general, or UNCG. So.
Awesome. Thank you so much for that. And good luck as you're finishing up and finding job opportunities and everything else with your thesis and your program overall.
Good luck to you too. Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. Have a good one.
You too.
All right, that was Janice. She had a lot of great tips today. I hope you enjoyed that video. Stay posted for some more videos. As the application cycle continues to progress, I'll try to upload some more videos, especially about tips on that. I'm doing that myself right now, working on my applications, personal statement, letters of rec, all those things, so I can put some tips about those as well in some future videos. And until next time, have a good one.